me close the door. All right. So I'm Natalia Brandstetter, and today I will be interviewing my mom, Maribel Ordonez. Hey, Mama.
Hi.
So my first question for you is, where are you in the world right now?
Right now, I am in the largest island in Greece. I am in Crete. And it is not unlike California in many ways. The terrain, it's very dry and arid. There's a lot of beautiful beaches, and there's tomatoes and eggplants, and it's hot, and there's mountains, and it's quite beautiful. So yeah, it feels like I'm on the other side of the world. Although, as your dad did point out, the largest continent is right below us, which is not very far from here, which is Africa. I think, no, Africa is not the largest continent, but yeah, I have to check, fact check myself. So I'm not quite sure, but Africa is very close to us. We are on the southern part of Crete, which is they call it the Libyan Sea.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool. I said hello to our neighbors, the goats. Let me close the door.
Okay.
They were really cute. They were on the beach, eating the grass. Yeah, it was really cool.
The beach?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture. It's
Okay.
funny.
Well, I miss you all the way over there.
Miss you. I wish you were here, of course.
All right. So my first question for you is, what is one trait about yourself that you would say defines you the most?
Okay. So I had to think about this one, and yeah, I know that I have some pretty strong characteristics according to my family, but I really needed to think about it a little bit. And I was really surprised because I asked your dad, I was struggling with it a little bit, trying to come up with what I thought. And he said something that I thought was kind of profound. And he said that the characteristic that defines me the most is curiosity. And I thought it was so sweet. And I think because I know I'm a very curious person, hence I'm in Crete. I mean, a lot of people say, why Crete? And honestly, I haven't met one American here. They're mostly from Germany. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that weird? And so a lot of our friends, even or my really good friend Christina was saying, she's like, so weird. What would take you to Crete? And I just think that it looked like it was on the other end of the world. So yeah. And so I was curious.
Yeah, I would say that curiosity is probably definitely like one of your more defining traits, and I'd say that you have a lot of defining traits. So, I really like that one. I think it really says a lot about you.
Thanks, babe. And and it really says a lot about how your dad is, like, he knows me so well.
He does.
And it's really kind. Like, just what he said was like, oh, he's like paying attention, I guess.
Well, I definitely agree with that trait, and I really like that one. My next question for you, though, is, I know you've talked about, growing up as a Mexican woman, and my question is, can you describe what it's like growing up around a stereotypically macho culture, especially like in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah, I think, thinking about it, I feel like I had a really good family overall. I think that they were very loving and supportive in most ways, but I think it was still very much a macho culture. And I think when I think about how I felt about it, even back then, I would get so frustrated and kind of angry. And I think for me, if I could put it in one sentence, would be that I questioned all of my instincts because it felt like they were always wrong, and I think, I guess to explain it is, if I wanted to, I don't know, climb a tree, or if I wanted to chew gum, or maybe I said something that a lady wasn't supposed to say, or I sat a certain way, or I did something that was not ladylike. I felt questioned all the time. I questioned myself because I felt that I was constantly being reprimanded for just being who I was, really.
Yeah.
I was kind of a free kid. Like I just said what was on my mind and did what I wanted to do. And a lot of times it was the wrong thing to do. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's one of the things that I questioned my instincts a lot.
Yeah. And because drawing back to like your curiosity, would you say that you felt like stifled with your curiosity, or would you say that because of how you were raised, you're more curious now, like in spite of it?
No, I don't think it's in spite of it. I think that's just who I am by nature. And so I think there was definitely a feeling of being stifled a little bit by it. I mean, I remember my uncle taking my brothers to a baseball game, and I really wanted to go. I'd never been to a baseball game.
Mhm.
And I remember I got dressed that morning and I was like, I was a little kid, so ready to go. And I was not allowed to go because I was a girl. I know. My older brother and my younger brother, my uncle Sergio, bless his
Don't
heart.
get to go instead of you.
Yeah. And he was younger than me. Little
Uh-huh.
kid. I know, and I didn't get to go. And I remember just being really angry about it. But I was curious. And I think it just helped define who I was. I've often said that I think that if I didn't have that sense of curiosity, I might have just conformed a little bit more, I might have just accepted the way things are. And I do see it a lot in my cousins, my girl cousins, who are definitely a little bit more, fall into line a little bit more on what's traditional, and getting married and having babies and doing all of the, and not that that's wrong. I don't think that's
Yeah,
wrong.
of course.
But I definitely didn't want that right away, and I don't think I ever did, really. I wanted to travel and I wanted to see the world. So I think because of my culture, I think that I just was like, I was almost, well, it's not belligerent. I felt obstinate,
Yeah. Mhm.
Like I was like, okay, you're gonna tell me no. Now I'm really gonna do it. So it was just kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tough in
Yeah.
many ways. It wasn't always bad, but
Oh.
there was definitely that part of
Mhm.
the culture,
Yeah.
and only looking pretty. That was your value. You were pretty or you weren't.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, and you know how I feel about that, because I used
Uh-huh.
to say pretty is as pretty does, honey.
Yeah.
So yeah, and try to emphasize other values in you that I thought were more important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. My next question is, if you could give your younger self, one piece of advice, what would you say?
So yes, I think that I think because I was more curious, and I had had a little bit of a wild streak. I just wanted to travel and just do whatever. And I think I would tell myself not to waste my talents, that there's that, and I've often said this to you, you can life is full of hard work, whether you're poor or you have wealth or money and success. And I think you got to choose choose one or the other, but it's always going to be hard work.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that I really felt that because I kind of, I went to college, but I wasn't serious. I wasn't serious about my career, and I wasn't serious. So I would tell myself, hey, I would push myself a little harder and tell myself not to waste the talents that I have,
Right.
which I think in the end I didn't. But at
Yeah.
the time, I could have used them a little bit more wisely.
Do you think that that advice could have like maybe would have changed your life path if someone was telling you that
I think
in some
so.
ways?
Yeah, I think so. I think things would, and I don't regret anything because I definitely was a young person who traveled quite a bit and really I had a pretty full life.
Yeah.
I think it just got harder when I had you. And I still had all of these other aspirations that I wanted to do. I want to go back to school and get my master's, and I wasn't serious about my career, but by the time I was pregnant with you, I was definitely headed in that direction. And so I think that slowed me down a little bit. But I made a commitment to myself at that point that I was going to do it anyway, whether it took me 10 years. So yeah, I think it did change a bit. I probably would have had a bigger career earlier on.
Yeah. Because I feel
Yeah.
like I think another trait about you is that I feel like stubbornness is a harsh word, but it's more like, but it's more like once you've decided you're doing something, you would never back out of it. And I think that really shows, especially like with your schooling later on, like in my childhood. And I really admire that,
Thanks,
that you
baby.
stuck to it no matter what, no matter how long it took. Because
Yeah.
you're here now.
Yeah, I am here now, and I think I'm pretty successful, and I have a really, I have a comfortable life for sure. But I also think that a part of why I did it was, and I mean, I did it for myself for sure, but I think part of the reason, another reason was that I wanted to show you, I wanted to be a good example for you as well, and life is full, everybody has their own path. So, you know, we get to where we need to be, and it could be like me climbing a mountain or taking a different path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. All right. My next question is, they say that some people in your life are there to teach you lessons. Who is that person that comes to mind that taught you a big life lesson?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a little harsh saying this, and I don't mean to be, but I really thought about, I have had a lot of people obviously that have taught me lessons, because I think everybody is a teacher, if you believe in that kind of Buddhism and all those teachings, that everybody comes into your life to teach you something. I think for me, it was my grandma, and I don't mean it in like the grandmotherly advice type of way. I mean it more, she led by example, and the example that I got from her is that she was stifled and she was held back, and she really fit into like the role of I think she really bought the role of like the demure woman who needed status and needed to be taken care of, and I think she was stifled by the culture and her time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like that.
Yeah.
She wouldn't run, she wouldn't go on, she wouldn't get into the water. We'd go to the beach and she would never get into the water. She wouldn't even, like, walking was like, for exercise was unheard of. She lamented her ex-husband, who was a womanizer, and I think that she really valued him because he came from status and wealth, um, and sometimes I think about her and I think, that I often said this to my mom, that I feel like she died from pride because she died from breast cancer, but by the time she went, it was too late, and she wouldn't go to the doctor because she didn't want to be seen without her clothes. And I just thought, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to live in regret. I don't want to live a life unlived. And that's how I felt she lived.
Yeah.
And it was sad. It's kind of sad for me. I don't know if it was sad for her, but when I think of that life, it feels oppressive.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think I see that, like, that lesson in you a lot. Just, I mean, in the way you live your life. You're very free. I don't know. Just like, I feel like you are constantly just going, like, and doing things that you want to do, like, or not really, just like not letting other people and their opinions or like really affect how you live your life.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I think you're right.
And I
And
mean,
then, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I don't even know what I was going to say at this point. I think that thinking about it, I definitely take my responsibilities very seriously, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
also, but I also think that there's time for play and then there's time for work. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And for me, it's like the joy of having time for play is absolutely essential, you know? And I think that's why we've traveled a lot with you and have gone places and done things. And we have a lot of friends that we really love. And because I think that's part of the joy of life, right?
Right. I mean, what's the point in work if there's no play?
I don't even think I don't remember my grandma having friends, I don't, it's just odd, but yeah.
All right.
Hello.
So my next question for you is,
Mhm.
can you think of a singular moment that has changed your life? What is that moment?
Okay, well, I'm going to say two
Okay.
because two are pretty significant.
Okay.
I mean, you have so many moments. There's always like the moment after 9/11, after 9/11 is very, for Americans, there's the moment before and then there's the moment after. And I think for me, there's always the Natalia before Natalia and then after Natalia. So I think that changed my life drastically. I think for me, and I've often said this to you, that I never really had plans of, like, to me, I didn't have the white wedding and the gown and all that stuff was not, and I didn't think it was in the cards for me. I wasn't dreaming about a white wedding. And I wasn't really dreaming about having children either. That was not something that I wanted, or
Yeah.
maybe if as I got older, it might have changed. But at the time that I got pregnant with you, that was not the course of my life, and I wasn't interested. I wasn't planning on it. I had other lofty plans, and that changed for me. And it was a pretty significant moment. Of course, your dad was beyond happy. He wanted a baby really badly. And we talked about that too. And I think at times I thought, I wonder if our relationship will last if I decide I will never have children. And it might have, but then you came along. And at that moment, I was planning on going back to school, getting my master's. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do all these things. And then whoops, I got pregnant. And and then there came you. And it was like, I think when I was pregnant with you, I really thought I wasn't that I was unhappy or upset about it, but I was also, I was ambivalent about it. I took really good care of myself and I had this baby that was coming, and there was part of me that was really excited. And I think I felt a little ambivalent about it. Like I was like, I don't know how I feel about this situation at this point in my life. And when I gave birth to you and you came, the nurse brought you to me, and it was the most joyful day of my life. I immediately fell in love with you. And I think that because I was so ambivalent, I didn't realize how much I was going to love you. And when they brought me to you, I was so happy. And I remember the nurse telling me and your dad. She's like, you know, you guys are the calmest parents we've ever had. And I think it's because I just was so in tune with what was happening. And I felt very calm about being a parent at that point. And I think maybe it's because maybe it's because I didn't work it up to be like this dream, that I could face it in a little bit more reasonable, logical way.
Mhm.
And I think maybe it's just my nature anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's that way. But I didn't realize how much I was going to love being a parent. And so I think, like they said, God gives you what you need sometimes. I
Yeah.
believe the higher powers give you what you need,
Yeah.
not what you want. But but you were definitely wanted. There was.
Well, thank you.
I know it's a running joke that you were
Yeah.
an accident.
I tell people that all the time, and like that it's a joke, but sometimes people are like, oh. I'm like, no, it's okay, it's funny.
It's okay. I don't realize your mom's a jokester.
So before you said you had two life events, but before we get into the second one, my question, and this might be hard to answer, I don't know, but my question is, how do you think, compare and contrast, like, how do you think, like, your life would differ if you didn't have me? Like, what do you think you'd be doing? Or what do you think would have happened?
I think I would have had a bigger career, probably.
Mhm.
I probably, you know, I honestly think that I probably would not have children. I don't think I would have ever planned for it. So the way that it happened, I think, was great. I'm so grateful that it happened that way. Yeah, I think I would have just had a bigger corporate career, and I thought that that's what I wanted. And I've definitely had that later in life, but it definitely is different, you know, especially when you're older and you go back into the workforce after you've been raising this baby. I think it definitely changes your perspective when you go into a career like that, you know, as you know, I've worked in the tech industry, and I have a different perspective. It's not as important. I think I make things a little bit lighter. I think that if I wouldn't have had you and I was that young, I think I would have put a lot more importance on my career and what people thought. And I probably went backwards, you know, to make these people happy. And it's not that way for me because of my perspective. You know,
I think it's healthy.
I think it's healthy too. Yeah. I mean, I've always, to me, my family, you and your dad have always been the most important thing. And so I think that in many ways I could have probably climbed the ladder a lot quicker, but I just didn't find it. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but now on this end, I mean, I'm pretty successful, and
yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, you know, and it's been a lot of hard work. And like I said before, when you're an adult and you have responsibilities, it's definitely different, you know, it's harder. It's harder to balance. It's like you're trying to balance all of these responsibilities that you have. Not that you're not, but it's solely focused on yourself, you know, which is great.
I only have to focus on school right now, which is lovely.
Yes, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Don't waste your talent.
Thank you. So, and then what was the second singular moment?
Yes, well, I think the next defining moment for me, and it's very fresh, as you know, is that I died. I had a cardiac arrest. I was walking our dog with your dad, and I think of it often because I had just finished work and normally pretty exhausted, and I will take an afternoon nap, even if it's for 15, 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
that day I decided not to. I decided to go for a walk with your dad and our dog. And my heart stopped as I was walking. And yeah, I died. And if it wasn't for that walk and if it wasn't for your dad, I would not be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as the doctor has said, I had my chances of survival for people whose heart stops is 2%.
Mhm.
And well, I think that it has definitely changed my life in many ways. I quit my job, which is probably one of the scariest things I've done because I've had a pretty nice job, nice
Yeah.
professional career. That was scary for me.
Mhm.
But I think if I want it, it'll still be there.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most significant things that has happened for me, and it's been hard because I think as your mom, I didn't want to leave you. But I decided to go with your dad, and he's definitely been leading the charge
Yeah.
and travel around the world
Mhm.
for the next few months and just kind of skip around and see the world. And I feel really grateful that I have the means and opportunity to do that. Not everybody does. And,
Right.
it feels weird telling people that when we're traveling because, they're asking us, oh, how long have you been here? Where are you going? And I'm such an honest person that I just kind of blurt out what I want to say. And then I think about it later and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't tell people that I'm traveling for 6 months or because I do see that it's not necessarily within the means of people to pick up and go.
Mhm.
But the other thing that I have noticed, and people say when you die and you come back, I didn't see a white light or anything like that, but I think it definitely, it doesn't happen to me every moment and every day. I don't wake up and go, I'm so grateful for the world in my life and I will always be happy. And that's not true. But I definitely have these very and I'm not a very emotional person, but I do have these big feelings sometimes when I'm looking at something that, catches my attention, like, beautiful mountains, or I'm with my friends and family and and I'm having such a wonderful time with them and it's such a special moment. And I do have that moment when I might look out and look at the sea and think, oh my God, I'm in Greece or I'm in Crete, or oh my God, I'm at my daughter's birthday. And I am so happy that I am here. I'm actually alive. And I say it, I'm alive. I'm alive to see this. And I could very well not be here.
Mhm.
Uh, we were driving down the highway from Heraclion, which is one of the main cities in Crete. And we're driving down this road in Greece from north to south. And you see this all over Greece. There's monuments for people all over Greece. They're very religious, they're Orthodox Christians, and they build these churches. And they're like gingerbread houses almost, but they're everywhere. And as we were driving, and they're memorials to people who have died.
Right.
And as we're driving down one, there was a really big one. And then at the top of the hill, you could see the coffin. And it was like made out of marble. And there was somebody there. And I like, it kind of shook me because I felt it profoundly. It was
Yeah.
weird. Like that could be me. So I have those moments, but it has definitely changed. It's the before Natalia and the after Natalia moment for me,
Yeah.
And as you know, it's changed your life quite a bit as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would say it definitely was a life-changing moment for me.
Do you feel like it's that way for you as well?
I think so in a lot of ways. You know, I think life and death is a very hard concept to grasp, but I think I really felt struck with it at a young age, and I feel really lucky, I think is what it is. And I think my relationship with life and death has changed because of that, and I think maybe yours has too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've always been very brazen about, oh, well, let's do this. Let's live life the way we want to live. Or not. Or I think for me in the last 4 years, I was so, and you saw it, I was enmeshed in my job. I was working 8 to 10 hours a day and sitting at a desk, working. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And life and death is definitely, it's like it happens. And for me, it was like, I'm so young. It's not going to happen. Why would it happen to me? I'm healthy. I eat healthy, I don't know. It's just, and I think maybe part of it is also the way I was living my life. I would live pretty high stress job. So, but you will laugh because your dad walks faster than me now.
Wow, that's impressive.
He's like, what's wrong with you? And I said, I don't know, I'm just walking.
Wow.
He's noticed it. He's noticed that I definitely have slowed down. My brain has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
So
that's great, honestly. I'm glad you need it. Some zen. It's funny. Yeah. It's funny. So I have read this book before where they talk about like whether or not like a fatal flaw is real, right? And like whether or not we have fatal flaws. And I was reading about this book, and it was so well written how he described the fatal flaw. And listening to you talk right now, I'm thinking, I think my mom might have a fatal flaw, but unlike Greek heroes, she got a second chance, is kind of what I'm thinking. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm a little high strung, let's say. I get a little worked up about stuff. I can't let go.
I know. Which is beautiful in a lot of ways, but I think
it makes me relentless.
Yeah. I would say so. But I don't know why, but hearing you talk right now, it made me think of that like idea of a fatal flaw. I think in the story he said his fatal flaw was the need for everything to be picturesque always.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I haven't finished it actually. But
I've heard of this book.
Yeah,
I need another book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's about like rich like university like scholars, like the ones that like
right.
Yeah. It's a good book.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but I just kind of made me think of like the fatal flaw. Is it real? And in a lot of instances I don't think that we have one flaw that makes us like is our downfall, but it just I'm just like, it's weird to think of it as these terms because what happened to you is so real, but it's so like cinematic in a way. There's your fatal flaw.
That is my fatal flaw. Wow, that's so interesting to think about it.
It
almost feels like go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you go. Your interview.
No. I was just thinking about it. And I'm like, it's so interesting because I almost feel like I'm in a book, like it's like, I think that's one of the things that maybe it's the logical, rational part of my brain that thinks this way, but it's like, it's not me, and maybe because I have my love of books, I love stories, like everything that has happened is like, I'm like an omnipresent instead of like the first person kind of thing. Like I don't think that in those terms.
Yeah. Which do you think maybe that has to do with like, I feel like in a lot of ways you had like a disconnect because you couldn't remember.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's very much true. I think, in many ways, I feel like this death happened to your dad and not me, because he's the one that had to witness it and revive me and call 911 and had to actually, he's the one that went through all of it, not me. I don't remember. I woke up in a hospital and I didn't know where I was and I didn't know what had happened. So in many ways it happened to somebody else. I just happened to have the scars from it, but
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was you though. That's the hard part, I think, is the hard part to grasp.
You're right, it is, because I've had to come to terms with it, you know? And I feel it, I have it, my heart flutters, you know, there's moments of, when I do get stressed, my heart flutters and beats faster. I don't think definitely, there's some damage there, but my heart's still really healthy. So I'm really, really lucky. But in many ways, like I've had to come to terms that, and sometimes I get angry because I think, what the fuck? Like I've done everything right. You know, I try to live my life right. But the one thing I haven't done correctly is reduce my stress.
Yeah.
And they say stress is a killer. And I think that definitely has something to do. Combination of my personality and my high stress.
Yeah. Do you think that that your maybe like your relationship with stress has changed after?
Yes, I think that I'm very hyper aware of it, and I really have learned to try to reduce my stress and notice when I get stressed out. Like I'm very aware of my body, you know, the way it feels and things like that, but I don't think that I've ever been fully aware of my stress and knowing my triggers and figuring out how to calm down or how to, you know, talk myself down from even my job. You know, I had high stress clients and deadlines, and I'm such a rule follower in many ways when it comes to work. Like I want to do everything right and perfect. And I think that I've given up some of that. Hence I quit my job because I needed to. And I don't know if I can ever go back, honestly. So.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you put so much dedication into that company and that job. And I think that they loved you, honestly, like as a worker, obviously. But I'd be kind of pissed at this point if they didn't take you back. I'd be like, I've watched my mom sit at her desk and talk to herself about numbers for what, 4 years?
Yeah, over 4 years.
Over 4 years, that you better give her a job back if she wants it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could get my job back if I wanted it, but at this point, I'm not going to think about that.
Yeah, don't think about it. You don't need a job. What job?
What job? No job.
You're not allowed to work.
I don't know how that, it feels very odd not to work, but.
I know, but I think maybe, and I think you'd agree with me, but I think maybe this is a really good exercise in letting go.
Yeah, it's definitely hard for me. And I've started to let go. Like I said, I'm walking a lot slower. Trying to take naps and read. And I'm going to the beach tomorrow, which sounds lovely. But at one point, your dad and I we joked to each other and we said, I'm really sick and tired of looking at really nice beaches. It's like something to gripe about. We were joking.
Oh my God.
I feel very blessed.
Yeah.
Lucky.
I think you deserve it, honestly.
Thanks, I have a hard time with the word deserve because I feel like a lot of people deserve, but I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. A lot of people do deserve it, but I also think that, again, an exercise in letting go is being like, you know what? I'm here because I deserve it. You're lucky enough to be a person who deserves it, who gets to experience it.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. After our deep talk about your life event, I have my next topic.
You guys are maybe this is a assignment.
Said it 45 minutes. It's been like 2 hours. It's okay.
I'm in an interview.
Sorry.
Wow.
Okay. We actually. Okay, wait. I'm gonna ask you two more questions.
Okay.
My first question is, what do you value most in life?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, that's right. So I had to think about this one again.
Okay.
1 second. Can you stop making so much noise, please? Thank you. Go. I think one of the things that I value the most, and I think it's also a defining feeling for me, is I think that I value freedom. I value the idea of freedom. I value the freedom to make my own choices. I value the freedom to be who I want to be, to love who I want to love, to have the freedom to be with the people that I love the most and enjoy them. So I think freedom encompasses love and happiness for me. And I think those three things together really are the things that I value the most. But without the freedom to do so, then I can't have happiness and love the way that I see fit. So I think for me, freedom is the biggest one. Freedom of choice, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that's a very good value. I think it's definitely something that without it, there'd be less.
Right.
There'd
So
be less. Yeah. Okay. So my last question for you is kind of into, because I've written, they're the same question, but it's, what are your hopes in the future for yourself? What are your hopes for yourself in the future? And what are your hopes for me in the future?
Okay, for you in the future, I want you to be what I've always wanted for you. I've always wanted you to be independent. I think that's the biggest value that I've wanted to instill in you. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. You're still our baby and we still spoil you, but I think independence is a really big one for both of us. And for me, that's what I want for you. I want you to be independent, because I think with independence, again, comes, independently, financially independent of spirit and mind. And I want you to be happy. And I think that having those things in combination will really help you to just fulfill your life. I want you to be happy. More than anything, I want you to be happy, honestly. And I know you can't be happy every moment of your life, but I think that it can be a constant, don't sacrifice happiness, honestly. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Mama. Now, what about for you?
For me, I think I want to be healthy. I want to be physically and mentally healthy. I want to really find a way to be able to have, that, and be able to, because if you don't have your health, then you don't have anything. It doesn't matter if you have money. It doesn't matter if you have anything, really.
Yeah.
And, I'm a testament to it. It's like, okay, what's the point in having this job, this big job, and having money in the bank when you're not going to be able to see it because you're dead? So I think it's really about having your health, and both mentally and physically. That's the most important thing in order to do everything else. So
yeah, I agree. Well, that was my last question for you. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to talk to me, even though. All right, but I have to say the time difference was kind of messing with my head a little bit. I was like, what time works best for me and my mom? I don't know. I was just, it's funny. But thank you.